Hey gang, welcome back. It's DrBossKey, and today we're going to talk about how to implement a indicator before enemies spawn on screen. So you can have enemies spawn on screen without them just appearing, because you want to, good game design is making sure that players can see something coming and be able to react to it. So if an enemy just appears on screen on top of where the player could be, because you never know where the players will be on screen, then that's not great game design. It actually feels cheap. So let me just show this to you real quick. Let me hop over. All right, I'll walk you through this in a second, but more importantly, here we go. Oh, let me push the button the correct way. There we go. So here you can see we have this mech that's going to come in. And you can see the indicator that appeared before the enemy spawned. So how do we do that? All right, so let's see. So here you need a little bit of gameplay logic, and there are two ways that you can kind of go about this, but I'm just going to go through the way I set it up for you. So first off, what you need is you need a graphic. So if you go to your particle system, we have let's see, is it here? Sci-fi portal, yeah, boom. All right, so we basically have a particle, which is an animated sprite sheet for us. And here you can see it, and that's this guy here. So here, just real quick, this isn't really a particle system tutorial, but we set it to local space, 1 max particle, type shade is point, it's constant, so when it appears, it continues to cycle through. It doesn't matter with emission rate because we're only emitting 1, and we're not giving it any direction. So we just want it to appear because we want to control and not have it move around. You could do it differently, but I'll leave it up to you for your creative imagination. For instance, if you wanted to add velocity, you could have your graphic then kind of like opening like a tunnel, and then things coming out of it, and then the inertia of that tunnel being pushed, or a wormhole or whatever, being pushed from like left to right. It's highly encourage you to work on that. So here, there's the texture, Sci-Fi Portal 1. So, and then this is just a sprite sheet for the animation. And the columns, there's 8 columns and 4 rows here. Duration I set to 1 in this case, so I didn't want to live longer than that. I adjusted the size because I wanted it to be bigger because it's got high resolution as well. And then I gave it a life min-max. So 1 minute 50 seconds is kind of what feels like the sweet spot for me, even though the duration is just 1 there. Scale modifier, so nothing in this case. And color over life, we didn't want to change any of the coloring. We want the crispness of the graphic itself. And then we also set it to be a 2D effect, so which was important there. And again, no velocity there. Okay, so now that you have a particle system, that's one piece. So then what we do is we have a trigger here, and this trigger is basically it stays activated when it's viewed by the camera. So this is our camera here. This is the inner camera, and this is the activation range for the camera. Yours may be different yours will definitely be different depending on how you set it up. I kind of like having this little extra buffer around my own normal camera, so then I have I can trigger logic and things before they show on screen, and then also change change the way I want like enemies to come in from on screen. So for instance, having triggers up here on the outside of the camera, that means I can put enemies in the border, and then when the camera slides through and it shows the trigger, then I can have enemies spawn in this way. You can do it all kinds of different ways, but that's just the way I will end up setting it up. It makes it easy for me to think about it. So okay, so that's a trigger viewed when camera, and then I have a timer here. So this is how long, and this is going to be different for you. This is how long before I want to activate these other timers, which then control these elements, right? So 8 seconds for the most part. If I made this 15 seconds, that means that then this would, let me go back, show this. So we wait 8 seconds, and then we trigger this timer here. And this timer is set to 1.5 seconds. And you can see that this is what actually wakes up the enemy. So then the enemy comes awake, and then I needed to control enemy wakefulness, and I needed to control the graphics separately. So you can kind of time how much you want the graphic to show up, the warning graphic to show up before the enemy appears. All right. So, and then basically I have a second timer here, and this timer connects to the sound effect. So I have a sound effect that plays here. It's the teleport wave, because I really want, and I wanted the sound to hit just a little bit before the graphic itself. And then from this activation of the enemy, I also then set basically a VFX or an FX element. And this FX element I set to also gave it a little lens flare, because I thought it was kind of fun with this to make it a little more dynamic. And then, but more importantly, here's the particle system in the sci-fi portal. And then I added a little scale value to kind of over crank it from there. You can control the scale completely. You can leave it 1 here and control it in the particle system. But yeah, so basically what happens, right, is, just as a quick recap, the camera sees this trigger. This trigger then says, cool, wait 8 seconds before giving me the enemy spawn, the sound effect, and the graphic for the warning indicator. And so you'll see here that as soon as I control when the enemy becomes awake, which is 1.5 seconds, I've already started the FX for the sci-fi portal here. So then the sci-fi portal appears, and I have the audio, the sound effect for the portal appearing. It's at 1 second, so it's about 1 second, so it's about half a second before the visual. Again, these are all just tuning parameters for you. It'll be different on how you set it up, but and then the whole thing basically gives what we saw here, right? So you can also probably see it from this perspective. Here it comes. You can see that the guy's already on screen here. The indicator fires. These things all fire, and we're good to go from there. Yeah, I think that's it. So, you know, it works for different types of gameplay. You know, and to maybe give you a sense for this here, like if I change this to 14, and it's going to be different based on how your camera travels through the world, right? So you just need to, like, now that you got the logic, you need to, you know, to iterate in order to make sure your setups work for you. And then a quick little pro tip for you guys after this. So just you can see that I sent it to 12 seconds. I also, in my particular case, maybe I should probably go over the enemy setup in a second. But you can see now this guy appeared way closer, and it changes how you interact with them. Not that I want that, but you know. And then probably worth noting here too is that with the enemy, I have him attached to camera. So it means that the enemy, as the camera is going through the world, that the enemy won't go out of the camera that way. And then I have its waypoints set up to then do its routines, and then I extend basically the waypoint off screen. So if the player doesn't kill the enemy beforehand, then there is an escape for that, so it doesn't just completely build up. You can, it's all based on how you want to do your designs. But I think that's it. All right, I appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Thank you for all the questions, the subscriptions, the subscribes, all the YouTube algorithm bumping, all the silliness. Much love. Talk to you soon. Bye.